Greetings, Poke fans. Welcome back to Poke Relaxing. It's been a while since I've done a video, so hope everybody's doing well. Today, we're back in the old setup, and I thought I would do a little bit of an opening video, along with some general kind of chat on a few things that I've been thinking about. Picked up this Destin Rivals booster bundle for, looks like it was like $40. The receipt I'm looking at has my $5 GameStop Pro like monthly discount thing, and then the 5% off for GameStop Pro members. So I rolled up to the local GameStop with my kiddo, and they had 2 of these left, so I bought one of them, and thought, hey, let's open up some Destin Rivals. Boy, I like opening Destin Rivals, but hasn't been super kind. So hopefully we'll change our luck. There definitely have been kind of a batch of Destin Rivals booster bundles appearing in retail outlets. My local Best Buy had these on, I think, Friday. And I went there and there was 2 left. And they had maximum purchase of 1. So I got 1. And my kids opened that one. But this one I thought I would open myself. So, as always, yeah, things are pretty crazy in the Pokemon world. It seems like not much is slowing down, and we are very much, where I am, school has now started. At least, kind of K-12 has started. I think college will start maybe this coming week in the local schools where I am. So, my understanding is that generally Pokemon, the market for Pokemon cards takes a bit of a breather in the summers, and then kind of picks back up in the fall. So if this past summer, there's Regirock EX, if this past summer was, or this, I don't know, current summer, whatever you want to call it, was, kind of a slowdown, then, oh boy, we're in for some crazy times ahead, because, yeah, the market has not been taking much of a breather. Most sealed stuff has either gone up a little bit or gone up a lot of it. And singles have recently started to heat up as well, which is very interesting. I remember, I feel like it was maybe last fall or maybe last winter that singles went on a tear, and it was like after sealed stuff had gone on its own run, and you were like, boy, now all of a sudden it seems like the sealed stuff is worth more because all the singles are up like 50 to 100% in the last month. But as I recall, the sealed market didn't necessarily, go any more bonkers than it had already gone. So, yeah, the correlation between the singles market and the sealed market is sort of a mystery to me. But, in any event, one thing I did want to talk about, did we get something? No. That I did want to talk about is Mega Evolution, which is the, there's a code card for y'all, the forthcoming initial base set of the next block of Pokemon And we have gotten a few teasers. Well, actually, at this point, we've seen the whole thing because of the Japanese sets. Mega Brave and Mega Symphonia. And we've seen just teasers of a few of the English version cards, but, you know, there's not really much difference in terms of the design, just the language, obviously, that's on them. So we know what's in the set. It's definitely got some interesting cards, some Mega Evolution cards, and some interesting like gold cards that are a little bit different than what we've seen before. So I think the consensus is it's going to be a pretty popular set in terms of the, you know, the cards inside of it and the interest in those cards. Boy, we're getting spanked here on this Destined Rivals box. Boy, it makes me want to open some Journey Together, which had much higher hit rates. So it looks like a pretty good set. And there's been a few leaks. Their code card on the next set, which is going to be called, what is it, like Phantasmic Flames or something? And that one is going to be just insane because there's going to be allegedly a Mega Gengar and a Mega Charizard, and the art, the rumored art on those is just insane. Really cool looking cards. So in any event, a lot of interest around Mega Evolution, which comes out I think like September 27th or something. And you know, initially I got my allocation, which for those of you who don't know, that's like how much, you know, how much of the product you're getting from your distributor. I got my numbers quite a while ago, a couple months ago, you know, about a month after they closed pre-orders at my distributor. And my allocation numbers matched. I have something else here I kind of want to open, you guys. I was at Costco. I actually got a tip that they had finally gotten these prismatic 2-packs in my local Costco. So I thought, well, let me just wander over there and see what happens. And sure enough, they had them in stock still. So they're very locked down at my Costco. Like they don't even have the product out. You get like a little, you know, like a little piece of paper that a human being has to hand you, with, you know, which has a barcode on it. And you take that up and pay, and then once you pay, then you can take it to this like other place, this pickup window. I don't know that I'm gonna open that ETB, but anyways, you open up or you take that thing up to the pickup window, and then they go and, you know, dig around in the back and bring you your product. So you know, that certainly, if that's how they do it everywhere, that's certainly good for kind of preventing the scalpers from picking up, like, you know, half the pallet in one purchase. My Costco's always been quite you know, good about limiting purchases and stuff. So hopefully things last a little bit longer there than other places. But I always see these videos of like people, you know, like swarming on the pallets as they get dropped on the floor. Anyways, Mega Evolution. So I got my allocations a while ago, and like many people who reported on what their allocations were, basically I got about, you know, 5 to 10% more of Mega Evolution as compared to Destined Rivals, which was the last regular set, the last non-specialty set in the Scarlet and Violet era. All right, spanked as usual. Pack number 1. I think when I got Destined Rivals, I got like 60 61 or 59, some weird number of booster boxes allocated to me. And when I got my allocation for Mega Evolution, it was like 66 booster boxes. So I thought, okay, that's cool. We're making progress in life. But then I started to hear about the situation that appears to have now become reality, where Pokemon has announced to its customers, namely distributors, that it is going to be producing Mega Evolution in waves. And the first wave will be about, I think it's like 60% of, what was originally supposed to be delivered on day one, with the rest of the product, the 40%, coming at some future time. I think that they didn't really say when that future time would be. So I've heard anywhere between October and December from different people who have accounts with distribution. But in terms of hard numbers, my allocation of booster boxes went from 66 to 41. And I got to tell you guys, when that happened, I felt like, oh boy, I am not going to have nearly as much of this stuff as I want. And by the way, my distributor in particular has not really communicated anything to me as to when, if ever, I might be seeing the second wave. I mean, I hope it's just sort of they're going to give me the rest of what was originally allocated, but I have no indication of that. So as far as I'm concerned, there's a not insignificant chance that my substantially reduced allocation will in fact be the only thing that I get. Now, I hope that's not true, and I would imagine that if Pokemon Company did come through with a second wave, that was in fact 40% of the originally kind of estimated numbers, that all distributors would then kind of pass that along to their customers. But not knowing whether or not that's the case, got Iron Thorns, and God, I hate Prismatic Evolutions, you guys. Holy crap! I mean, I guess Destined Rivals doesn't really do me any better. I mean, I got one crappy. What did I get? Like a base EX in that box. So I don't know. Maybe it's not really any worse than anything else. But boy, I have opened, I don't know, maybe 50 packs of Prismatic in my life and pulled absolutely nothing. Ooh, look at that! I got an A-Spec. Whoop-de-doo. So yeah, this kind of two-wave distribution method is something that apparently Pokemon has done before. I was not a buyer of Pokemon products at that time. This would have been back, I think, probably in the Sword and Shield era, never in the Scarlet and Violet. So some people do have some experience with this. I do think the market is very different now than it was at any point in Sword and Shield. Some people do like to, they do like to kind of think about the the Sword and Shield era around 2021 or so, when we were kind of still in the COVID bubble, and things like Vivid Voltage were very hyped up, and a lot of people were super excited about them. They like to think, well, that's kind of similar to what we are experiencing now in the Pokemon market. I don't really think that's very apt, but I was not buying Pokemon then, so I can't really speak with much authority, and I just gonna go by what many people who were buying Pokemon sealed products in that time frame have said on their YouTube channels that I watch. But in any event, my reaction when my distribution, when my allocation numbers were cut so significantly was, to sort of immediately kind of like clench my, how shall we say, lower gastrointestinal region, because it just felt like, well, one thing, A, is, I'm getting, 25 less boxes than I thought I was going to get. So that sucks. But also, I felt like, wow, if this is happening to everybody, across the Pokemon universe, and this set, Mega Evolution, let's look at, actually, while we do this, um, sorry, got to prepare my browser window, one sec. Okay, here we are. So we have our TCG player open, but yeah, so my reaction was, boy, if everybody gets cut like by 40% of what they thought they were getting, and this is a, super popular set, which seems to be the case, uh, that seems pretty obvious to me that there is going to be way more demand than supply for the first wave. And, it's nice to know there's a second wave coming, but if that is a month away or 2 months away or possibly 3 months away, it's going to feel, irrelevant to pricing and interest and demand when this stuff releases. So I just think if you have a new set that's highly anticipated, and you basically, again, the initial allocation numbers were 10% higher than Destined Rivals, but then they cut the, numbers by 40%. So basically we have a situation where a new set in a super hot Pokemon market that, is going to eat this stuff up like candy. And the availability of this stuff is going to be 30% less than the last set, give or take. I mean, that is setting up for a catastrophe. And I tell you, and when people know about this shortage in advance, as we do, then, people like me who are feeling very much like we got, 40% of our product taken out of our hands, and we may never see it, feel like, geez, I would prefer not to sell much of this, and just to hang on to it, because who knows if I'm going to get any more, and at what price if I do. So if you have all of these factors, a high demand set, and a known reduction in availability that creates, for the first month or two at least, a situation of severe shortage of supply, and that shortage of supply causes people who, are getting this stuff to not really want to sell it, unless they absolutely have to. I mean, you're talking like I mean, that's a perfect storm, a trifecta of all of these circumstances. So I don't know. I'm very concerned about what, I mean, I don't know, concerned, is that really the word? But I really think that it's quite possible that when this stuff releases, there is basically what I think, I'll put it this way, there's going to be more demand, and the price on this box at launch is going to be higher than for any other box in the history of Pokemon. So basically that means, it's going to do, it's going to outperform in terms of pricing, like Destined Rivals when that came out. If you looked at, and I don't know if you guys were able to see some of these while I was babbling, but there's some really cool looking cards in here. Mega Venusaur, This Bulbasaur is going to be the promo that comes in every quote unquote enhanced booster box. There's another Mega Venusaur, Mega Lucaria. I'm not a big fan of that one, but it is kind of cool because it's got Venusaur in it along with Lucario, and I know a fair number of people do like Lucario, so um, yeah, I don't know. These cards are really cool looking to me. What I haven't seen is like how many um, kind of IRs there are. Not a ton. Not a ton of art rare slash IRs in this one, but I want to look real quick at Destined Rivals to show you kind of what that one did, which was a super like hyped up set out of the gate, and is it older than 3 months? I think it is. Yeah, so like I remember, when it first started pre-ordering, it was like, you know, 350. I feel like it was actually higher. It was like 400, and may have been like 430 or something, which for a pre-order is absolutely insane. And then when it came out, as expected with any set, and even Mega Brave is gonna, or sorry, Mega Evolution is gonna be like this. It is gonna drop from wherever it happens to be right before release because there's just too much supply coming on at once to keep it that high. Whereas all these pre-orders are, at least on TCG Player, quite limited in supply because only certain sellers can list stuff. So there's just not much pre-order material available on TCG Player by design of TCG Player. So necessarily you see, a dip on release because just a ton then becomes available. Everybody can sell on TCG Player at that point, and it does drive the price down. And so, this was kind of the point where a lot of people said, "Oh boy, it's all crashing down, and this product is garbage," and everybody thought this was going to be the best set in the era, and now it's just trash. Well, it didn't last too long. It did, let's see. So it came out, I think, in April here, and then was kind of selling a lot below 300. Anywhere between like 20 and actually 220. I don't know if it ever. Yeah, did I see a 220 there? So it might not quite reach 220, but basically 240 to 275 to 280 or so, until actually just this July, we started to see everything sort of heat up again. And then here we are, these things are above $300. So there was a lot of opportunity to get these for about 250 or so that it seems like now is over. We'll probably see a dip again, a little bit at least, when they, reprint this set and more booster boxes become available. But I predict that if the market is still as hot as it is, that will be short-lived, that any dip we see in the market, because I do think a lot of people really like this set and would like to hold on to this stuff for the long term. So in any event, I think that whatever you see here is going to be, outdone by Mega Evolution because of these unique factors. And how much more, I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me if we saw $450 booster boxes from this set for, I don't know, some period of time that's not insignificant. Maybe it's a week, maybe it's 2 weeks. And maybe it happens actually after the initial release when everybody's trying to sell their stuff at the same time. But I just think until we get that second wave, it is going to be very hard to get these booster boxes. And I personally am not super excited, frankly, to sell any of them, because I think the market will be in such a state of flux that it's going to be hard to figure out pricing. So what I might do is maybe, get rid of my, ETBs, and which also got cut. I mean, everything got cut, by that 40% from distribution. So I might try to get rid of some ETBs and some of the ancillary products. I don't really actually think I got much ancillary products. Those are really hard to come by, because a lot of that stuff goes all to big box retail now. So Mega Gardevoir is beautiful. These are the gold cards, which historically gold cards have been very undesired by the market, but these are quite a bit different design-wise. And as you can see, this is the most expensive card in the Japanese set. Will that be true of the English set? I kind of think not, but we'll see. We will see. This is like sort of a monochrome design, kind of like the cards that came out of white flare black bolts in the black, white, and red monochrome cards, which were like another level of rarity, and that's true of Japan too. They're called mega ultra rare here, as opposed to the special art rare, which is the special illustration rare of Japanese. So let's just quickly look at some of the cool cards in here. I think Mega Brave definitely has the better like special art rares. There's a bunch of trainers in this one. The Mega Latias is definitely going to be, I think, a very popular card, as well as the Mega Gardevoir. I want to see if this has any more illustrations. Yeah, not really, not a ton. I like this card. I like the night background there. So, yeah. So my prediction on Mega Evolution is it's going to be very tough to find this stuff for a reasonable price in the aftermarket. But like every set, I think if you put a little bit of effort into finding stuff at retail, it can be done. I mean, the stuff I've opened here earlier in this video, I picked up at MSRP, or actually a little bit north of MSRP in the case of GameStop, because they mark their stuff up. But I think you can certainly get some of this stuff if you shop around a little bit and kind of figure out when drops are coming in. I know GameStop has been very good about like posting. They don't do this at my GameStop that I've seen anyways, but I've seen pictures of this where they put up signs like on their door with like the dates they're getting different item and how much of each item, so you have a sense of what the chance of getting something is. And so if you have GameStops in your area that do that, you might have better luck there. Targets, I know, generally stock on like one day in the week. So like mine, where I am, stocks I think on Wednesdays usually, not always, but if I'm in the area, on a Wednesday and it's like the morning or maybe mid-afternoon, I will stop in and see what they have. Usually I'm not super interested, but I like to kind of see what they have, and if they do have something like really cool, like, I don't know, Blooming Waters or something, I would get that. I've never bought that at retail, but if they had it, I would certainly get it. So, it will be possible to get this stuff at retail, but if you're looking to buy, booster boxes from the open market, I think the pricing is going to be, prohibitive, and I wouldn't recommend it. So for people who want to buy for the long term, I don't know that like the second wave is going to do a whole lot to bring prices down, but it might. And frankly, if I was going to be trying to pick up a bunch of this to hold on for like a 4 or 5 year time period in the open market, I'm not quite sure what I would do, but I don't think I would be paying, $350, $400 a box for this stuff. And I fear that's the price that is, we're going to see because of all these factors that are going to create a real perfect storm of over demand and undersupply for this product when it comes out. So, yeah, I mean, I guess I'm the bearer of bad news, and I apologize for that. But hopefully, yeah, I mean, there'll be decent opportunities. There's usually like a lot of pre-order windows at like Target's website, Walmart's website. Although Walmart, I think, like lets you order obscene quantities, so I think the scalpers and the bots really clean them out. Target's a little better about that, so sometimes I think their pre-orders last a little longer, and they're smaller quantities that you can get, so they take a while for that stuff to sell out. But no guarantees, that you can snag something when it's open for the whatever half an hour those things usually go, but certainly try, I would say. I will say, and I think, Pokemon Center should be doing a, a batch of product, or making a batch of product available, when the stuff officially launches. They did their pre-order quite a while ago, and I did participate in that. And they have a pretty good system for queuing people who are trying to buy stuff at their website. So, I got in line, I hung around for probably about 40 minutes, I think. And, got in and bought my, I think, one ETB. And I feel like I remember you could buy 6 booster boxes, but I might be hallucinating. But I bought whatever number of booster boxes they let you buy. And I think just one, PC ETB. And, that's nice to add to the, sort of volume of stuff that I'll be getting. I also went to my one of my local LGSs here, and I knew they were having pre-orders. I kind of went about like a week after they announced them, so I was like, oh, they're not going to have anything. But sure enough, they had plenty of stuff available for pre-order. I think I got booster boxes there for like $179.99 plus tax. And at the time, it was maybe not the greatest deal. I think maybe they were $220 on the open market. But now, actually, we'll check and see what they're doing. But now I think they're like $250. And actually, they're over $300 now. So let's see what the last several. Yeah, so they're $300. Last one is $329. And again, my hope, right? I hope that when this stuff launches, like let's say the price stays at $329, although I feel like it's a long way till September 26th or 7th. But if we last until then at this like kind of just above 300 level, I do think again, when everybody kind of gets their stuff and starts selling them in the open market on TCG Player, things will drop just because there's too many people trying to sell at once. And I think that if we do see a drop from, let's say, 325 to like 250, like that would probably be a pretty good opportunity, I would guess, to pick up some of this stuff. But I don't know that we're going to see that. So, I can't tell you it's guaranteed. It's historically seems likely that we'll get a little bit of a drop. But if this stuff, because the conclusion that I'm forming, I think, is not widely sort of, I don't know, like understood yet by the market. But I heard that Rudy from Alpha Investments said that he's not going to sell anything from Wave 1. And he usually, gets a few pallets of stuff, which each new set, and he sells it, to his Patreons who subscribe to his channel. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, well, he's thinking pretty much exactly the same way I am, which is that, geez, I don't know that I'm going to have really any of this ever again after this, so I better be kind of stingy with getting rid of it. So I think as more people kind of hear that from, folks who are going to be having their their allocations cut, they might start to form the same conclusions that I have, which is that it's going to be, it's going to be hard to convince people to sell this stuff, and the way that you do that is by, increasingly bidding more and more and more for the items that they have for sale, and so that could certainly lead to very large price increases on this box. I can't remember how high Destined Rivals got, but I feel like those got up to like high 300s, maybe 400. So I predict it's going to get at least as high as Destined Rivals did in the pre-order. After that, who knows? But I'm not banking on a lot of this stuff being available at anything approaching reasonable pricing. So I'm glad I got what I did pre-order wise. glad I got, at least something from distribution, but I, don't imagine I will have many opportunities to buy any of this after, it launches. So we'll see. But, who knows? Maybe that wave 2 will actually be larger than anticipated. And then there's just a big flood of this stuff. And, by that time, the next set, which there is a lot of excitement about, will be out or, be close to being out. And people will say, well, okay, maybe I'm not so excited about Mega Evolution, which is, after all, a base set, which typically is not a very good set for the era. So maybe at, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 months out, when all that is transpired, there will be some ease back in pricing. So if you did want to hang on to this stuff for the long term, that maybe would be when the opportunity to get, optimal pricing occurs. But as with everything, don't know until it happens. So that's what we got for today, folks. Hope everybody's doing fantastic. I do have more content on the way. Hope you're enjoying your own Pokemon collections, finding fun things to buy, finding cool cards to look at, and just having a fun ride as we see all these changes happening in the market, and the the new products coming out. Some of the innovation from Pokemon Company is pretty cool to see, I think. So I'm excited to see like the next set, and all the sets after that is I think is necessary for the excitement in this market to continue. So I'm glad we're seeing that. At least that's my personal view. All right, folks, we'll see y'all next time. Till then, stay relaxed.